So, a very good morning, everyone. And so far, we have been talking about the importance of talent, how talent has become more and more important over the last 5 decades. Earlier, talent was kind of one of the ingredients in the business and not a very prominent ingredient. Now, gradually from the 1980s, 1990s, and then across the 21st century, talent has become the key ingredient. And then we spoke about how to acquire talent, what to look for when we are acquiring talent. And last time we spoke of a very important topic, which is very critical in making a difference, particularly when we are talking about top talent. So, would anybody like to share in terms of key learnings in the last session? What did we talk about in the last session and just the previous Sunday?
So if I am able to recollect correctly, so I think we talked about the onboarding experience for the new joiners, how good it should be, like
Yeah,
so that they they involve themselves, they feel that they've joined the company and maybe their experience should be like something which gives them lifelong learnings and lessons.
yeah, good. Anybody else would like to add to what Rohit said?
So we spoke about talent engagement frameworks and employee engagement challenges. We also went through a few models, the drivers, and we spoke about the talent engagement strategies that we usually, look at.
Yeah, great. So we spoke about uh, engaging with talent and how do you ensure that people are really engaged in the work that they're doing? That is very critical. Now, we spoke about people, the majority of us, we are 9 to 5 people. We go in the morning, log in, have tea, chit chat, uh, clear our mails, and then wait for something to happen. And then you wait for lunch, and then after lunch, you wait for tea, and then you wait for the day to get over. So many of us are like that, but there are also many of us who are deeply engaged in our work, and we do not wait to be told that this has to be done or that has to be done. We take our own initiative and do that. Now, a big problem in in the corporate world, not just in corporate America, but everywhere in corporate India, corporate China, Asia, Africa, Europe, is that people are a good percentage of people are not really engaged. They are there because they have a job to do. That's all. They are not excited about the job. They are not putting in what we described as discretionary effort. The effort that you would like to put in of your own will. मेरे को ये करना है. I have to do this. Without fail, I will do this. Make your work a personal commitment. It's a personal commitment, not just a commitment, because it's not a commitment because I'm an employee of this company. It's not a commitment because I'm leading this team. It's not a commitment because I'm reporting to someone. It's not a commitment because the client is shouting at me. It's a commitment because I want to do it from the depths of my heart. That is engagement. That is real engagement. So we saw in statistics that only about 30% people are really engaged like that. And that also proves Pareto true that 20% people achieve 80% of the results. So there are another 40% who are kind of engaged but not really excited. And then there are 20% who are disengaged. They are not interested in doing the work. And there are 8% who are actually against the company, against the work that they do. They really hate the work that you do. Hate is a very strong term. I can just dislike, but they actually hate. So 8% are, you can call them that they are people who probably would even like to sabotage. You know, so so that is very dangerous for a company. And in America alone, they lose about $300 billion every year due to poor productivity of a certain percentage of the workforce. Similarly, in India also we lose billions of dollars because people are not engaged with the work that they do, and they are 9 to 5 people who come in the morning and leave in the evening. So their contribution is not very significant, is not coming as a personal contribution. It is because the because their circumstances are making sure that they contribute. So that is what we talked about. Now, that is a very important ingredient in what we are going to be talking about today, which is employee retention. We would like to retain our employees, particularly the top talent, because they are the drivers of the business, so to say. So they are driving the business, and it's important that we retain their services, and they are deeply engaged. So what is retention? Human resources involves a huge amount of investment in time, money, and learning. So people get hired. Hiring is not easy, which we have spoken about. Many of you are in the business of hiring. Hiring is never easy. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of screening, a lot of search, and then finally you zero in on the right candidate. And from a HR perspective, talent retention is one of the areas where a huge difference can be made, which can be measured in both qualitative and quantitative ways. So once the person comes on board, and like Rohit said, we have a good induction, we induct them in the system, and we try to retain them. So everything makes a difference in terms of how they are inducted, how they learn what they are supposed to do, what is the ecosystem of the company, etc. So the way organizations create the conditions such that the employees offer more of their capability and potential depends on the talent engagement, which may lead to talent attrition or talent retention. So any observations about talent retention, anyone? Any experiences that you may have had in your organization?
The retention bonuses being a big part of it. I think changing it's a revolutionary effect. I feel because a lot of people would want to jump. And so, see, there's been a trend where Gartner released a report saying there were retention bonuses being given to the millennial Gen Zs more than the millennials because they were more creative and more innovative.
Okay, so Famida gets straight to the point. Retention bonus. पैसा बोलता है. So you have to give money to retain people. Okay, good. So and Gen Zs apparently are getting more rewarded. So good. Okay.
So this is
Anybody else?
absolutely correct, and this is absolutely correct in my case also, because in my company also we have a lot of campus hirings done in last few years.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to retain them during the appraisal cycle, everybody is given an appraisal like additional incentive or bonus. Whereas we, being the laterals, we are not provided with such benefits, and the fact is that their overall approach and the way these guys work, they actually don't like the traditional ways of work style in the corporates. They want Google like or Meta like atmosphere. So if we don't provide all that to them, so
Mm-hmm.
the city at which they leave and join other companies or maybe startups, it's very high.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think YouTube and social media has popularized what you said about the Google and the Meta lifestyle. So you can see it on YouTube how employees in Google, they are practically living in a five-star restaurant, five-star hotel. So they have gyms, they have great restaurants, they have different cuisine, they have multiple options of taking a break. They can nap or they can bring their pets and things like that. So I guess after seeing all those videos, now every employee wants that kind of a facility. So so they want more money, they want great facilities, etc., etc. Yeah, so you're right, absolutely, that now the expectation has become very high, and people, the best talent, want the best facilities and the best infrastructure. Great. Anybody else would like to add in terms of how you retain people apart from the bonus?
The
Okay.
benchmarking with compensation.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. So yeah, you have to benchmark your compensation. You're right, and uh, so I guess that is an exercise which many organizations do as a matter of course every year, and they kind of work out a compensation ratio as per their industry, as per the levels of the people there. So yeah, you're right that many organizations do this as a matter of course. It's part of their process maturity. This should be done every year so that you understand that you are paying more or less as compared to industry standards. Okay. So great. I think we are getting the drift. So costs of attrition, why we want to retain people? Because there are costs of attrition. There are very serious cost of attrition, and unfortunately, many Indian industries, whether it is BPO, whether it is IT, banking, retail, they are all going through very high attrition. And but why do you think, because in India, we have a situation where there are millions and millions of people who don't have a job, and yet we have very high attrition. So anybody, any thoughts, why is this so? It's very contradictory to say that people don't have jobs, and yet you have, the workforce leaving jobs constantly and getting better options. Anyone?
So I think in IT, the thing is that whosoever has an experience, so they get good opportunities outside the organization, and then they tend to leave for better compensation. And and a person who's like very new to the organization, or say is just like a campus hire or something. So as soon as they gain experience, their motivation is to get higher compensation, and that's the reason the churning out in the IT is at a very high level. Because you
Yeah,
have opportunities there. That's the main thing. Because of the digitalization and digitization, what's happening in and around the corporates. So you are getting a lot of opportunities. What we've especially seen during the COVID times, because of digitalization, a lot of people changed within like span of 4 months, and then they got 100% or 200% hikes.
yeah, you're right. So yes, that's one of the things, that experienced talent is not in very high supply. So therefore, they are sought after. Yes, that's right. Anybody else would like to add?
There is also, I particularly feel attrition also happens when, so there is grape due to a lot of grape points because you know there is definitely a misleading conversation or probably information being passed on that a division is going to be sacked. So what happens is usually people are interconnected, and I think one of the reasons of attrition I personally feel is a lot of grapevines and the management's inefficiency to cater to these questions directly, probably coming and having a very transparent forum. This is so honestly, this is my personal observation, wherein my management had to intervene and probably check with people. Hey, you've heard this news, but this is incorrect. We can give it to you on paper. So one of the reasons I personally think filtration is this. There needs to be very a lucid environment, and the camaraderie between the management and the executives need to be.
Okay. So that's a very good observation, that there has to be. I think the word you used was lucid communication. So there should be clarity. There should be clear, transparent communication between the management and the people in the company. And if there are some wrong assumptions being made by the employees, or they think that their division is going to be closed, in short, they're going to be asked to leave, that should be addressed upfront. So yes, both of you are right. Now, see, whenever you look for a cause of something, you have to understand, there are two ways of looking at it. One is a macro, one is a micro. So macro is, if you look at the situation in India, uh, there are a lot of people who are not very qualified to be able to take up jobs in formal companies. So there are a lot of people, but the level of education for such people who are not able to get employed in big companies, their education falls short. So therefore, they are not able to get good jobs in some of these big companies, because these big companies typically require a very high level of education. So therefore, they have to seek opportunities in maybe smaller companies or in the unorganized sector. While in these larger companies, what happens is they are chasing a small set of people who are highly educated, and who also, like Rohit said, they have experience. And so we are chasing this small set of people all the time. People who have the relevant experience, people who are highly educated, and people who also, they can work in some of the larger companies comfortably. So therefore, we are constantly chasing this small set of people in the country. Therefore, you have, and these people naturally, like, it was said that they are obviously, any employee will always look for better opportunities. So they are also looking for better opportunities, and they are constantly leaving the company and going for somewhere where they will be paid better and maybe given growth as well. So the attrition hits any company because you are spending a lot of money to hire them, then you're spending a lot of money to training them, then you're spending time and effort on the learning curve to ensure that they are able to be productive in the company. So these are all the direct costs. The indirect costs are many. For example, if somebody leaves, that immediately causes demotivating impact on the rest of the workforce. If, let's say, there's a team of 40 people and 10 people leave, rest of the 30 people feel that there must be something wrong. I should also look for opportunities. So there are multiple indirect costs. uh, some of these people will go out in the industry and badmouth the company, that, oh, that company was so bad, that's why I left it. Maybe it was not so bad, but because they have to give a reason why they have left, so they will say that, this is so. If it is a listed company, then it will be noticed in the media also that, so and so senior person is leaving, so there will be bad press for that company. So there are a lot of indirect costs. Uh, Attrition, there are some benefits provided the attrition is a right kind of attrition. You will save on cost. Uh, you will, if, let's say, you are downsizing and you want people to move out, and people move out on their own or are asked to leave, then you save on cost. You are able to right size your headcount. So, there are small benefits, but today we will be focusing more on the direct and indirect costs of attrition. So this is the traditional attrition process. Typically there is a trigger. The trigger could be employee dissatisfaction. I am not happy because of whatever reason, and then they assess cost of quitting and likelihood of finding a better alternative. So that individual starts thinking that, okay, I need to leave and I need to get a better opportunity. So let me find a better alternative. So you start looking out. If alternatives seem possible, initiate search for so you start looking for a good alternative, not just an alternative. When you find that alternative, you evaluate against your current job. So you look at, what am I drawing now? So will I get a hike? Will I get more responsibilities? Will I get a bigger team? Will I get to interact with great clients? So you look at multiple parameters depending on your current job. And then if you feel that this alternative is superior and it is good in every way, then you decide to move on and you put in your papers. So I think the most important thing to understand about the attrition process is that it begins much before the actual resignation. It really begins in the mind of the employee. It begins in the mind of the employee. So and it could be when a person resigns, the exercise could have started maybe 6 months ago, maybe 1 year ago. You don't know. So we will try and look at how to ensure a work environment so that this dissatisfaction doesn't happen. Do you agree with this observation that it begins in the mind much earlier than the resignation?
Absolutely, sir.
Yes. So I will just share a small anecdote from my experience. So I was working for a fairly large organization, and there the person who used to head my department, I did not like her, and she was very I would say she was not a bad person, but she was insensitive. She didn't care really for people. So I decided that I didn't want to work in that department, and I started looking for options in another department. And luckily, I within after 6 7 months, I found another option in another department. So I was really happy, and I started working in the new department. I worked there for 1 year. Then suddenly, I get an email that the lady who used to be heading that other department where I was, which I left, now she will be heading my new department. So immediately I got very alarmed, and I thought like I don't think I want to carry on in this department. Let me look for another department. But then in HR you can't keep roaming around from at the most you can go from HR partner to learning and development to payroll management to talent acquisition. But there is only that much movement that you have. So I thought, okay, maybe she's become a better person after 1 year. So let me see. When she came to my new department, I realized that she hasn't changed much. She continues to be the way she used to be. So I decided, okay, let me explore opportunities outside. And I started looking out, and it took me about 3 months, but I found a fairly good alternative with one of the competitors of that company. So I put in my papers. Now, uh, because this lady was not very sensitive about people, she didn't care who resigns, who doesn't resign. So she didn't say anything, and she said, yeah, you want to leave, goodbye. But I think what happened was there were too many people leaving the department, and her senior management told her that this is not good, that so many people are leaving. You have to do something about it. What is going wrong in your department? So suddenly she became a different person, and they organized a farewell for me. And she said that no, while farewell is fine, but I will go with you in your car to the restaurant where the farewell was being organized. And she got in the car, and she said, "Look, I haven't told anybody this is a farewell party. You withdraw your resignation right now, and we will say that this is just a team get together, and you kind of you're happily a part of the team." Now it was very difficult for me, for the senior person sitting next to me in the car, saying that you withdraw your resignation right now. And also she had that commanding way of saying, you do it right now, not like, please do it, why don't you withdraw your resignation, what is the issue, I will address the issue, nothing like that. It's more like, we will give you a hike, don't worry, so you withdraw it right now. So, and in my mind, that was the last thing I wanted to do. I did not want to withdraw my resignation no matter what. So I kept smiling and trying to focus on the road and say, yeah, I'm thinking about it. And she says, what's wrong? I mean, you need to decide now. and I'm kind of somehow I reached the restaurant, sat down, and refused to look her in the eye, or even kind of look where she was sitting. And so eventually it was announced it was a farewell, and they kind of you know some people knew about it. They had got a cake and everything got over. And I kind of was relieved after that. What she didn't understand was that I had decided to leave the organization not on that particular day of the farewell. I had decided to leave when I had got that email that she would be becoming the head of the department again. So it's a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. And so you have to be a sensitive manager to understand that if people are leaving me, then there must be some reason behind it. you know Such managers typically blame the company, blame the compensation, blame the market conditions, but they never look into themselves and say that there could be something wrong with me also, because of which people are leaving in such large numbers. So I thought I would just share, an personal anecdote, uh, because this is exactly what happened to me, and I thought, you know, is a good example. So there are some models of employee attrition. This is the Denisi and Griffin model. So basically, they say that it's very clear. It starts with job satisfaction. You have to look at the reasons behind the job dissatisfaction, which prompts people to start thinking about leaving. They look for alternatives, and then they decide to quit before the actual attrition happens. So this is the typical process flow that you see. So there are different kinds of attrition. There is, internal, external attrition. So internal are people who are on your roles and they move on. Then there may be people who are working with you, may not be on your roles, but they move on. That also has a big impact. Many of you must be working with consultants, and if consultants move on, they also leave a big impact on the organization. Then you have skilled employees attrition and unskilled. So when skilled employees leave, the impact is greater, particularly when they are very skilled. Sometimes they have some niche skills where it's very rare, maybe some software coding skill, maybe some like I was working in an engineering company, in an EPC company. So in an engineering procurement construction company where there were very few people who had those days the knowledge of the software called BIM. So this BIM software helps you design buildings and design construction. So when anybody would try it from that team, we would try desperately to retain them because it was very difficult to hire somebody with a BIM certification. So similarly, there are other certifications which people have. Then you have functional attrition and dysfunctional attrition. So functional attrition would be that you know uh, you have certain important functions, I mean certain uh, tasks which are very important, and certain tasks which are not so important. And so if people leave from doing the tasks which are not so important, so that doesn't have too much of an effect. But where you are looking for getting some value adds from people, which when they decide to try it, that may be a dysfunctional attrition. So also there would be some people who are your bottom performers, like we are typically talking about top talent, but there also would be a lot of people who are bottom performers, and who, if they leave, that doesn't have too much of an impact. So that is practically a functional attrition, so that is fine. You can live with that attrition. Maybe you would have eventually asked them to leave, and if they are leaving the company, then it's fine. There is voluntary and involuntary. So voluntary are people leaving on their own, and involuntary is sometimes, unfortunately, we have to ask people to leave. It could be due to a compliance issue. It could be due to excess headcount. It could be due to right sizing of the company. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some business going away. It could be maybe due to some and you have to close down that particular team or a particular division. So there can be many reasons why there would be involuntary attrition, but this is common, and in some cases, and it is even come in the papers. In some cases, some large IT companies have shut down their particular engagements with the one particular client, resulting in maybe more than 1,000 people being asked to leave. Then there can be pull attrition and push attrition. So anybody would like to share what is a pull attrition and a push attrition? Anyone?
Not much aware, but I can. Yeah, not much aware.
Okay. So push attrition is where the environment in your company is such that people would like to move on, or the manager they are working for is such that people would not like to work with that manager. Full attrition is where you are working in a company which is like the bellwether company, so to say. For example, in IT industry, if somebody is working in Infosys, then there are other companies who are always dying to attract talent from Infosys or TCS or Wipro. So these are the top companies. Other IT companies are always trying to attract talent from these companies. Similarly, if in FMCG, Unilever, ITC, these are the top companies, and people are always trying to attract people from these companies. So that is full attrition. So you have to be wary of both. If your company is very well reputed, you are known in the market as having some of the best talent, then chances are that people will deliberately try to poach the top talent that you have. So you have to know how to safeguard those people, maybe through compensation, maybe through benefits, maybe through opportunities, but you need to design a retention program. Similarly, for push attrition, if people are leaving the company because of the ecosystem in your company or due to some managerial conduct, you will have to address that if you want to retain your people. So both of these are very common reasons for attrition, and definitely they are very serious, and both of them need to be addressed. Yeah, Kamida, you have a question.
So I don't have a question, but I just want to ask, when pull in put attrition, are consulting, these strategy consulting firms are an example of this style of attrition?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part.
So would these consulting for big fours or the big threes an example of pull and push attrition?
Mhm. Yes, yes, you're right. The big four, they have lot of pull and push, because if you notice, a large part of the big four, they are people who keep moving from one of the big four to the other big four. So it is a lot of push and pull going on between them. So if let's say I'm in Deloitte and I'm unhappy with my manager, immediately I probably get offers from KPMG or EY or Pricewaterhouse, and I move on. I've interacted with a lot of people who keep rotating between these big four.
So, but I usually have one question.
Mhm.
Big fours have a very common culture. I mean,
Yeah.
any big four you pick up Deloitte or KPMG, the
Mhm.
kind of pressure within teams is almost the same.
Yeah.
So compensation, I fairly don't understand how compensation plays a bigger role, because push is always internal factors at the kind of pressure and everything.
Mhm.
So how does, how do you, as an individual, if I know these similar factors are going to be there at another place, so how does compensation usually plays a role in this? If you could share your experience.
Yeah, sure. So, see, when you are moving from one company to another, inevitably you will get a certain spike in your compensation. So even if it's a lateral move, even then you will get some sort of increase, and that is also justified from a HR standpoint because they are getting new talent, and they would have a certain budget. Let's say if I'm continuing in an organization and appraisal happens and the appraisal is good, so what are the chances that I will get a 10% hike, maybe 12%, maybe 14%. But if I leave and join a very similar company doing a similar kind of a role with similar set of clients, my chance of getting a 20% hike is, always there. So I will naturally opt for a 20% hike compared to a 10% or a 12%. So, but that particular year, then naturally you will fall into the normal appraisal cycles, and then you will start getting again 10%, 12%. But in between, when you make that jump, you get, you know, slightly more hike. So some people love that, even if it's slightly more, people love that spike in their CTC, and then it again kind of stabilizes. So even that small spike is a good it excites you. You get to, particularly when, like you said, the ecosystem is similar. Absolutely right. But ecosystem is one variable. The other variables are your immediate manager. What kind of a client you have. So that also makes a big difference. You may be stuck with a client who's extremely rude, who's unpleasant, and difficult to kind of shake him off. So you say that, okay, let me explore, with another big four company. Does
So
it help?
thank you so much. Yeah, yes. So also I wanted to understand, do all the lateral movements in any organization go for a price hike, or there could be terms and conditions? How is it? I mean, I'm sure you've had more experience. So just want to understand.
Yeah. See, because let's say, I have 10 project managers working, and then two of them leave. So immediately there is a pressure around HR to quickly backfill those two positions. Now HR will obviously say that, you have to give me a certain budget that I can backfill these positions. So, and the budget, let's say, the all the other 8 managers are getting, 14 lakhs. But HR will say that, look, I mean, I will not be able to attract people at a, maybe I will be able to attract even at 10 lakhs or 11 lakhs or 12 lakhs. But to get very good talent, I will need, give me a budget just slightly bigger, maybe 16 lakhs or 17 lakhs. So company will say, okay, we are in desperate need of getting those project managers. Let you go ahead with a budget of 16 lakhs. So they will attract somebody lateral higher, but who was maybe getting 12 or 13, and here he's getting 16. So fairly good. They may not have got this much in their appraisal, so they say, okay, I will move. So therefore, yes, in lateral movements also there will always be a hike, but that hike is a one-time hike, and then you will fall part of the normal appraisal cycles. But yes, that will always be there. Moment you move to a new organization, and there are companies like Accenture, I believe, they are very liberal with onboarding and the new compensation that they give. It may not be true, I don't know, but they are known to give hikes as much as 25 to 30% when new people are joining. And it is logical because most companies, like some companies, they pay the best compensation in the market. They may, the work environment may be very tough, it may be very demanding, but they pay the best compensation. And so when you are entering their grid, let's say I'm a manager, and I'm a manager in a small company, and suddenly I get to work in one of these big companies. So to make me fit into the grid, they have to give me a hike, because they have to kind of get me into the range that they have for managers. So immediately for me it will be like, wow, I got a huge jump, but they are actually giving you the minimum in their range. And then you have to climb up the ladder to ensure that you uh, get the highest point in their range. Make sense?
Yes, sir. It does. Thank you. Thank you for
Sure,
this.
sure, welcome. So these are some types of attrition. Now, these are some big challenges. Compensation, this is the most common thing. People are dissatisfied, unhappy. Particularly, I think Gen Z, which we have been talking about, their chances of becoming unhappy quicker and faster is probably higher. So compensation can be a big dissatisfaction. India also has inflation of 7%. So that's a fairly high inflation compared to Western markets. Your compensation, the expectation that the appraisal is going to be bigger and better is always there. When I used to work in a company where I used to work with American colleagues, they used to feel very surprised that how come people in India are getting 10% and 12% and even 14%, while in America they would get 2% hikes. Because one reason was in America the inflation is 1.5% or 1%. I think now it's a slightly more after COVID and the Ukraine war. But otherwise, the economy grows only at about 2% because the base of the economy is so big, it cannot grow anything more than that. And therefore, inflation is also controlled. So in India, the expectation is much higher, and people get dissatisfied more quickly than it is in the uh, than it is there in the other markets. Then job opportunities. This is like we were talking about. There is a set of people who are experienced in a particular sector, who are people who are very highly qualified, and for them the job opportunities are very high, and therefore they are tempted to leave their companies and keep moving till they kind of hit a plateau. So therefore, and also I think most of the Asian economies are growing economies: India, China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Dubai. In Asia, most of the economies are, except for Japan, I think all other big economies are growing. So opportunities tend to be high. Uh, Yeah, so when you hire the wrong candidate, then it's kind of it's important that you may want to shake off that candidate. You may want to uh, you know get rid of the candidate. Maybe the candidate is very qualified, but is not relevant for your purpose. For example, I may be looking for a candidate with a particular software skill, but the candidate has definitely a software skill, but in a different language. So that may not help. Then no job rotation. So there is people look for, if companies wherever they have job rotation programs, they are likely to retain their people better as compared to companies which don't have. And in some companies, in very mature companies, what happens is they also have programs where they have structural job rotation. So when I was in GE, they have these programs called FMP, which is Financial Management Program, HR HRP, I think HR Human Relations Program. So these programs allow you to get in those programs for 2 years, and you are taken from one department to another, and sometimes even from one country to another. So in the financial management program, you could travel to different countries. You could understand the entire range of financial functions. For example, accounts payable, accounts receivable, order management, general ledger. So you could kind of see the entire range of financial departments and really understand the work in a lot of depth, which you otherwise would not have understood. And sometimes it's a challenge to retain people because the company has very unrealistic expectations from employees. So, like we were talking about very high compensation, but please remember, some of the mature companies do not just pay high compensation. They are also very structured, and they know exactly how to work their employees very, very hard. So the work is also very demanding in mature companies. In smaller companies, they may pay you less, but because of the work not being very structured, your utilization may not be that high. But in more mature companies, what I've noticed is they know how to extract work from employees. And though they pay you good money, but they actually extract far more work from employees than they really pay. So such companies can become very demanding, and it's very difficult to stay in step with such expectations. So often people leave due to the pressure. Any observations, any thoughts?
Uh, Sir, I have a bit different opinion,
Sure,
probably
sure, please.
just specific to the L&D function. I'm
Mhm,
not talking about in general. Uh,
mhm.
with respect to L&D, what I observed in my personal experience, smaller companies tend to have lower budgets, and they're likely to push more work through the small number of employees and a team, rather than compared to a bigger, organizations having good number of budgets for employees with bigger teams, organized team structure, organized roles. So, I mean, utilization per se. What I observed is bigger organizations have organized roles and responsibilities compared to the smaller ones, which smaller ones might ask an employee to, wear the different hats of different roles at one point of time. So that's my observation, sir.
Yeah, that's Akshay, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So Akshay, see, actually, with maybe smaller is a wrong word, but there are two kinds of companies. One set of companies where the workflow is very well structured, and when the workflow is very well structured, it could be in a small company, it could be in a big company. When the workflow gets very well structured, then the company knows exactly how much effort an employee has to put in. And this is typically true of larger companies. But there are smaller companies also where the workflow is very well structured. In another set of companies, the workflow is not structured, and there could be some very big companies which are like this, but the workflow is not structured. So when it is not structured, what happens is the employee is expected to do many things, and it is very haphazard. So sometimes you may be working very hard, sometimes you may be working very less. Sometimes your entire team could be extremely overburdened, and sometimes people practically don't have any work, and they are loitering around and chit chatting, sitting in the cafeteria. Uh, so so it really depends of, it's a function of the level of organization that your company has and your department has. You rightly said that in smaller companies, L&D doesn't have enough people, so they expect that whoever is there to design the modules, to deliver the modules, to get the feedback, to tabulate the feedback, to give the reports. So everything is expected from a few people, and which is unfair and which is overburdening. Uh, but uh, but if it is not structured and if they don't have enough people, then this is bound to happen. So that's my thought, that there are two kind of companies: one very structured, one not so structured, and one absolutely completely not structured. And sometimes you hear the term Lala company. So
Yes.
one characteristic of a Lala company is that they don't have structured work. So they will just tell people, you do this, you do that. Typically, a manager doesn't have to tell his team every day what to do, because if it is well structured, then everybody knows their job. The manager will just see how the job is being done, not what job has to be done. But when you don't have a proper process, proper procedures, then you have to tell people what to do every day, which is again an additional task which is completely avoidable if your workflow is mature.
Perfect. Sure, sir.
Completely resonate with this, sir.
Sorry.
I said I completely resonate with this because I myself am working in Usha International, which
Okay.
is kind of what you rightly said, Lala company. So in the past 3 years, I think post COVID, the management shuffling has been like 2 to 3 times, and now the chairman is getting involved in the tasks which the mid management level should do. So there are a lot of challenges right now which we are facing in terms of the day-to-day task itself, and then going into the details of the same. So there is a high level of attrition in our company right now which we are facing.
Okay. Yes, so that's a difficult situation to be in. But as far as one important thing which you said, which is very critical and which is actually common across many companies, is that sometimes the senior management gets into doing things which ideally should be done by the managerial level. And then that creates a lot of confusion because people are not sure what they should be doing and what they should not be doing because then the structure and the levels get merged, and that creates a lot of confusion. So hopefully, this will improve, and work will become more structured. But yes, those are difficult times when that happens. Great. So thanks. Let's keep moving. So these are some big causes. Monetary consideration, of course, is one. Lack of career mobility. I'm not going anywhere. Remember, people would love to see a career in your company. People would not like to just come over for a job. People would love to see a career. And we have been talking a little bit about Gen Z. So yes, career growth is very critical for them. It's of course critical for everybody, but now it's become even more critical. So the career growth has to be fast enough. The work environment, like we spoke about the Google and the Meta work environment. So you need good infrastructure, you need good facilities, and apart from that, that is the physical dimension. The psychological dimension also has to be positive. A sensitive work environment where they understand if somebody has to go on maternity leave, somebody has to pitch in, somebody has to support that person, somebody meets with an accident, what kind of a support mechanism do you have? Somebody falls ill, what happens then? So what kind of a work environment do you have? Do you make snickering comments behind their back because they've fallen ill and they are not doing their work, or is there a supportive environment which is helping them out? So um, so that's very important. And what I've seen is, even if people get a little bit of less compensation, it doesn't matter as long as they're working in a great environment. I've come across many people who don't want to move because they feel that, yes, maybe I'm not getting the best compensation, but the place where I work is really awesome, and I want to continue to be working there. Next is the stress levels and the lack of work-life balance. So, in many organizations, we are just completely blind. We just have to meet our KPIs, and the stress levels are crazy. So people don't want to stay around in those companies. Then shift timings and monotony. So these are, of course, if you're doing night shifts, if you're doing late evening shifts, these are all very challenging, and people may not be able to sustain for a long time. Similarly, monotony sets in if you're doing the same sort of work and you would like to see some variety. So these are some common causes. So this is an important motivation theory which we have to keep in mind when we are trying to train people. So there are different motivation theories, but why Herzberg is being talked about? Because Herzberg understood that motivation happens at two levels. One uh, is hygiene. So hygiene is basically, it does not motivate people, but when hygiene is not there, it demotivates people. Okay, so suppose the washroom is functioning properly, the AC is working properly, so people, that doesn't excite people that the AC works. Wow, I am in an office where the AC works. Nobody gets excited because of that. But these are hygiene, because if they are not working, then people become unhappy. Okay, so please understand the difference. So hygiene is, it doesn't excite anybody, but if it doesn't work, then it demotivates people. And second is the motivational factor, which motivate people and actually get people excited to uh, do more, give their best. So both need to go hand in hand to ensure positive results. Okay, so that's why this two factor theory is important to understand why people stick. So this is the Zinger model of talent retention. It is also called CARE model. So it says that you have to connect, you have to be authentic, you have to recognize people, and you have to engage people. So from an external standpoint, you identify with the organization, foster relationships and community in the company, you serve your customers together, and internally you drive people professionally and personally, you leverage their skills and you help them be happy. So that is the CARE model. You may get a question on this. So, but it's a very simple thing. These are the 6 ingredients. You have to craft your strategy on these 6 ingredients, which are divided into 2 parts, inner and outer. And so this is basically, you ensure that you take holistic care of the employee. So fairly commonsensical and a good input in terms of a structure that will help you retain people. So this is the employee retention process. So you have stimulating work, you have leadership, and you have recognition, similar to the Zinger model. Then you have integrated system of talent retention, which is you have 4 buckets there, analyzing the work climate. Now the work climate is very important. So if you read up the Gallup literature, you will find that they talk about the climate that a manager creates. So by climate, they simply mean the environment that a manager creates, and that helps people decide whether they want to stay or leave the company. Then recognizing and rewarding performance, designing stimulating work, and competency building and career development. So all these are 4 dimensions of an integrated retention system, and very key dimensions. Each dimension is very, very important. So that helps you retain people. So please have good reward and recognition processes and systems in place. When you do that, then you really motivate people, and design your work stimulatingly, and so that there is less monotony. And then, of course, please invest in developing people and developing their competencies. So these are some retention strategies. I think Rohit started with this: onboarding and orientation. Then you have mentorship programs. You mentor your top talent. Good compensation, recognition and reward, which we talked about, work-life balance, learning and development. So basically, from your integrated retention system, good communication and feedback. I think Famida had earlier talked about that people in pockets think that something is going wrong, and the leadership doesn't come and address them. So communication and feedback are very, very critical. Dealing with change, how, because change is constant. So how does a company deal with change? That is very important. Do you feel demotivated? Do you feel that we won't be able to survive in this? Or do you feel, yes, we will get ahead of the change curve? Do you deliberately encourage people to work in teams? Do you help create a good environment? Do you do celebrations together? And do you do, a deferred income plan, ESOPs? These are very powerful retention strategies, and especially startups use these methods to, you give them uh, shares which may have a vetting period of 3 years or 4 years, but that helps retain people. So these are some retention strategies. Let's look at a nice video on the top 10 retention strategies. In case you can't hear the audio, just let me know, okay?
Creating a highly engaged workplace begins with having effective employee retention strategies. Employee retention is the organization's goal to keep talented and skilled employees and retain them. So, what can you do to keep your employees happy and avoid job hopping? Here are the top 10 employee retention strategies. Number 1. Hiring the right people. 80% of employee turnover is due to bad hiring decision. Hiring the right people can decrease employee turnover to a large extent and help in employee retention. Number 2. Shaping their growth and development. Helping employees achieve their short-term and long-term goals is one of the most crucial employee retention strategies. Therefore, designing in-house training programs for employees can advance their professional development. Number 3. Providing out-of-the-box benefits. 50% of adults would leave their job for better benefits. Catering to the needs of your employees is important. Employees favor benefits like financial incentives, retirement saving plans, sabbaticals, incentive stock options, life insurance, etc. Number 4. Appreciating your employees. Appreciating your employees for their efforts and achievement goes a long way. Thank you notes, social recognition programs motivate and encourage an employee to contribute and excel. Number 5. Maintaining work and life balance. 11% of workers have refused a new job due to a lack of good work-life balance. To take the pressure off employees, share the workload, allow work from home, and practice flex time. Number 6. Providing monetary benefits. One of the major reasons that make employees quit is the lack of compensation, and hiring someone new can be quite costly. To avoid this, you can give a fair and just appraisal to every deserving candidate. A salary hike is another way to retain top performers. Number 7. Practicing a feedback culture. Regular feedback can reduce employee turnover. Feedbacks make it easier for employees to understand and track their goals and responsibilities. Number 8. Conducting exit interviews. Conducting exit interviews just before an employee is about to leave is very crucial. An exit interview is asking a departing employee about his experience at the company. This process can help throw lights into things like toxic management and departmental conflicts. Number 9. Building health and wellness programs. 60% of companies offer wellness programs to stay competitive when attracting and retaining employees. Having a comprehensive health plan which takes care of the overall wellness of your employees is important. Providing health insurance is another great way to take care of their wellness. And number 10. Providing leadership opportunities. Many employees feel they are capable of contributing more. Assigning them with the right task, opportunities, and responsibilities can increase employee satisfaction and hence help in retention.
So I think we had covered most of the points, except for the health benefits and health insurance, and also the leadership opportunities. So this video is right, that nowadays we spend so much time in the office that it's important that the organization takes care of your health and gives you support if it is required. and next was the leadership opportunities. So these are things which you ideally give people assignments or help people grow. And if you do that, then chances are that people will definitely want to stay for a longer duration with your company. So any other observations from the video from anyone?
I found health and wellness strategy to be more of a gap in the companies which I've worked up till now. I mean,
Yeah.
rest of the things are definitely at par in some
Hmm.
of the other companies, but this is one aspect which the company or the HR sometimes does not look out for or does not give importance to, or even if it does give, then the employees take it for granted. So
Yeah, that's right, Asim. Yeah, so but I think this is catching up now. Earlier, yes, you're right that there has been a gap on this front, but now it's catching up, and I think at least health insurance most companies are providing, but the wellness programs, etc.,
yes,
those are not there.
yoga classes are also being now started. Yoga
Yeah,
workshops are being conducted nowadays.
some companies have started having a gym in their premises. Some companies have also given you counseling helpline, so you can in your own privacy, so that others don't get to know, but you can reach out to counselors and seek their advice in case you are feeling stressed, in case you're feeling that work life balance is not happening. You can reach out to them. So yes, there has been a change in this front also.
Yeah, additionally,
Yeah.
counseling is also a part of retention strategies these days, wherein we are not just talking about career consulting, but we're talking about health consulting, psychological consulting, financial consulting. So they've also introduced, they bring in specialists from different areas, and they introduce them with their team so they can have their one-on-ones. And so this is what I think started at my place also. I think in my organization they've gotten people who can talk about financial stability, financial well-being. There's also a coach who's empaneled with my division. So I think these are the things that additionally taking care of.
Okay. That's very tempting. I think I will apply to your organization now.
Sure.
So where do you work, Pavida?
So I work with LHH, Lee H. Harrison.
Okay, great, good company. Yeah, so also there is a delicate situation which sometimes arises out of this. What happens is, I did some coaching for a French company, and when you are coaching some people in the company, some of them don't get along well with each other. So you don't know what to say to them, because whatever you hear. This is completely uh, um, you know a private discussion that you are having with the employee. Now the employee says that I am planning to leave this company in November. Now you don't know what to do with the information. Should you tell the company that this employee is planning to leave, or should you keep quiet because there is a mutual agreement with the employee that whatever is discussed stays here. So sometimes that delicate situation arises for a coach. You don't know whether to side with the employee or side with the company. you know. So, but good that more and more companies are doing this. So great. So these are some benefits which are fairly obvious. You have some of your top talents working for you, so that ensures efficiency. It saves resources. Otherwise, you will be spending a lot of money on hiring people, training them, bringing up the curve, etc. Customer experience gets impacted. So suppose you are in retail or in BPO and you're dealing with customers, new people always take time to learn the ropes. So therefore, the time that they are learning, they may not be able to give the best customer experience to people, because they simply don't know the product or the soft skills as well as somebody else would be. Then boost staff productivity. So if you have new people coming in, it takes time for them to become productive, whereas people who are tenured, people who are doing a great job, they will obviously be at a higher productivity level. When you have low retention, typically you have fairly good morale. When you have high attrition, you have low morale because people feel that we are working in a sinking ship, and so many people are leaving. So therefore, the morale is weak. While when less people leave, morale seems to be quite high. Uh, Top employee retention, that's what we have been focusing on, that you want to retain the best players in the company, the top performers. You should focus because they are the most productive and responsible for maximum productivity. Fun and games, employer benefits, and continuity of projects and activities, these are all very straightforward. I think the last part is very, very critical. Continuity of projects and activities. So these are, you may be working on very critical projects. And if you have new people coming in, that project viability may get impacted. For example, I was working in a company which was responsible for the metro construction in 2 or 3 cities in India, and we could not afford to get new project managers. So one team is set up, and that team had to continuously work on the project because they knew ins and outs of the project. Moment anybody else came in, it would cause a disruption. There would be a new delay in the project, etc. So therefore, it's very important that you retain the key people, particularly for key projects. So these are some clear benefits which kind of rounds up our focus area today of retaining the talent that you have. So that brings us to the close. Any questions, any observations so far? Anyone?
It was insightful, sir, as always. I mean, I've been attending your sessions. So thank you very much. You have
Sure.
been bringing a lot of experience, and
Sure, Akshay, thank you.
it makes it
Great. I see that you have L&D next to your name. So
yeah. I've been using this account. I mean, office and same thing. So
okay,
yeah.
Great. Okay, if no other questions, then I will take your leave. Thank you for your time, and we will connect again next week, same time. Have a great week ahead.
Sure,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.